Hello angels, I trust you're having a beautiful day. Today I am so excited to talk to you because I'm about 2 weeks out of my Iboga wellness journey. So about 2 weeks ago, I was in Costa Rica and I took part in 2 Iboga ceremonies. These were incredibly potent, incredibly powerful, the deepest I've ever personally journeyed with plant medicine, and it was like the most profound experience that I've ever had with plant intelligence. So I'm 2 weeks out of that journey at the present time of filming this video, and so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what has shifted in my life since then. And this is part of a series all about Iboga. So if you guys haven't checked out the previous videos, I'll be linking them down below, and hit that subscribe button if this is interesting to you, because there's so much more to come. I'm going to be documenting how my life and my experience of reality transforms from having this incredible experience. So like I said, 2 weeks ago, I was in Costa Rica and I took part in 2 very potent and very powerful plant medicine journeys with Iboga. So right now, I'm actually presently back in Bali. I'm specifically in Ahmed, Bali, having sort of a holiday until my time is up here on this island. I've actually been living on Bali for the last 1.5 years. And what's interesting is that prior to the Iboga journey, just before, I had made the decision to leave Bali. And so during my Iboga wellness experience and the plant medicine ceremonies, it became incredibly solidified that it actually really was my time to go. I felt it very strong intuitively. I'd packed all my things down to 2 suitcases, sold a bunch of stuff, like it was all happening anyways. But coming back from this journey with Iboga, it's like the clarity that I've had in my life is completely refined. Not just in the area of moving and making like life transitions, but so much more. Like I literally still feel like I have a new brain. So Iboga itself scrubs your brain. It scrubs your subconscious mind of all the limiting thoughts and all the limiting beliefs that you had. And so coming back to Bali, it was quite interesting because I didn't really want to leave Costa Rica. And I didn't want to leave Costa Rica because already in my mind, I had left Bali. I had moved on from this place as being, let's say, my home. And I've created for myself that I'm going to be spending the next year, 2023, at the time of recording this video, fully nomadic until further notice. There's lots of places in the world that are calling me, and I'm answering that call. I'm going on a completely abundant and beautiful adventure into the unknown. And so what's interesting is that because this was really ingrained in me prior to ceremony, and then even more so through ceremony, it almost felt a little bit like I don't want to leave. Like I didn't want to leave Costa Rica. I didn't want to get on the plane. I mean, not just because it was like a 40-hour journey back to Bali, but it was because in my mind, I was already in Zoey's new reality. And so I want to bring this back to some of Dr. Joe Dispenza's content, because I feel like a lot of you might be familiar. I mean, it's definitely something that I've spoken to a lot. It's like practicing and conditioning new ways of being, right? And creating your own reality. It's something that Lauren and I, Lauren of the Lo and Zoe Show, we've created in our signature program, the Quantum Creators Course, where we teach people how to create in the quantum realm and have that manifest into the physical or 3-dimensional reality. So the way that Iboga works is because you're scrubbing your brain and you're releasing a huge amount of inhibitions that have been holding you back from that next level life, from that next level of freedom. It's like when you come out of Iboga and you're back in your reality, like you've done so much work in, let's say, the spirit realm, they refer to it in Bwiti tradition, or like I can relate to it for you guys, maybe you might be more familiar with like the quantum realm. So coming back to reality can be slightly abrasive because you've transformed so much. You've actually like totally wiped and rewired your brain in so many incredible, beautiful, abundant ways that like coming back to your life, there might be things that just like aren't really in alignment anymore, or things might start to fall away right away. And one thing that was super interesting was that in my Iboga journeys, I completely wiped my past. And even like prior to my second Iboga ceremony, what I did was I had a paper that I had done some pre-work for Iboga on, where I listed out all of the most impactful life events that I've had. So this was like good and bad events, but events that have naturally shaped who Zoey, who I was at that date and time. And so, you know, a lot of that was traumatic, like for example, being in a plane accident and how that has like shaped me since then, or breakups that I've had, or like relationships that I've had. And so prior to the second ceremony, I took that piece of paper to the fire, I prayed to the fire, I introduced myself, and I took this sort of ominous act where I decided and gave that piece of paper to the fire and said, I am done with my past. Like, I am done. I'm ready to move on to my most abundant, freedom-filled, love-filled version yet. Like, really calling in all the things that I desired in my life, love specifically, next level abundance, next level of freedom, just like the dream life. I'm always so committed to creating my dream life and giving Zoey her best experience on life on planet Earth. So put that paper in the fire, and little did I know, right, I went on this huge, depthy journey into all my worst fears in order to feel them, to heal them, to wipe them clear. So coming out of Iboga, those old previous thought patterns do not exist. So what I've found, right, is like I've already moved on to this next level abundant reality. And I mean, I can still witness and experience the abundance in every day. Like, of course, Bali is heaven on earth. Like, it's not like I'm not grateful, but it's like I'm already somewhere else in my mind. And so it does take some time when you're conditioning a new way of being, whether it's through an Iboga journey or whether it's through like quantum meditations. When you are creating things in the spirit world or in the quantum realm, there is some time that it takes in this space right here, in the three-dimensional reality, for those things to be made manifest. And sometimes this triggers that ego up a little bit, like it's been triggering mine a little bit here and there. But you know, I do trust, I do know, I have a very strong inner knowing since my Iboga journeys that the work that I did has already been done. And this is something I didn't have prior to Iboga. I didn't have this innate knowing inside of myself that everything that I desire will be mine. It was like prior to Iboga, I was still having to sift through a lot of limiting beliefs all the time, having to like really mind my mind. But coming out of Iboga, like I said, it's like I've got a new brain. There have been a couple of moments in time, and specifically I had one day where I was experiencing a lot of self-doubt. Like, is it really happening? Did everything that I do in Iboga really work? Like, is that there? And that's completely natural, again, because you've created this quantum shift in your mind, and reality is a very persistent illusion, right? And it does take time for the work that you've done in your mind, that work that you've done internally, to reflect itself in the physical reality. So when I found myself in a bit of self-doubt, I used my tools, right? I've been moving my body every day, I've been eating healthy, I've been maintaining the lifestyle that I had, but sometimes I found that in this, when like self-doubt presented itself, it's quite interesting because I can't go back to old Zoey, I can't go back to the old thought patterns in the mind because they don't exist. So it's almost like I go to this place in my mind that's a completely unknown. That's like, well, it's not here yet. We know what we did, but like, why isn't it here yet? And I actively take action to bring myself back down to my heart. Because the truth is, we don't need to be living from our minds all the time. In fact, when we're living from our hearts, like that's where we're living in the most alignment with who we truly are. And so some of the activities that I did to bring myself down to my heart, like I said, was just like maintaining positive and nourishing practices that I do have, like movement, meditation, journaling each day. But on those days, I journaled a little bit more. I did some somatic practices. I did some EFT tapping, which I'm certified in, to move myself through that self-doubt and to align myself back to the reality that I know that I created in my Iboga experience. So I want to say 2 weeks out, like where I'm at now, I'm still feeling super flippin' great in my brain and of course in my body. One thing I do want to touch on is that the medicine of Iboga was extremely powerful within my physical body. So I mentioned a plane crash that I was in about 6 years ago. That affected my hearing with permanent damage. So I was not able to hear clearly through my ears, and my ears have had a lot of trouble equalizing in the last 6 years. So that means like if I'm driving over the mountains or if I'm swimming underwater, I tend to have issues. That has not been the case. I have been in the ocean every day since I got back to Bali, and I have not had any issues with my ears, which to me is a medical miracle based on the reality that I was living before this. Also, my spine. My spine is something that has been a huge part of my healing journey, my self-awareness journey. And in the last year, I've done a lot of work healing my spine. I have experienced a lot of medical miracles, but nothing compared to what I experienced in Iboga. In my first Iboga ceremony, the medicine prompted me to clean and clear my spine. And in this, like, I had a lot of visuals. I was helping the medicine literally scrub my spine all around and straighten it back up. And this also reminds me of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and I just feel called to share this again. Those of you who are familiar with Dr. Joe, you know that he had this experience where he had a lot of damage done to his back, and this is how he really learned the quantum techniques and stuff, is because he healed his own spine through the power of thought and imagination and just flowing energy towards that. And it was very interesting because I had tried a lot in my life to do what Dr. Joe did to heal my spine, and it would work here and there. But the way that Dr. Joe Dispenza uses the technique or describes it, from what I understand and from what I remember and incorporated into my own life, was that Dr. Joe like prompts you to focus and imagine healing your spine all the way up, right? Like holding it all the way up. But if you lose your focus and your attention gets drawn elsewhere, then you have to restart over again and keep doing it. And I had a very hard time doing those meditations because my mind would take me other places, right? My mind was full of busyness. And so I always had a hard time focusing on healing the whole spine, right? And so I never fully had, like, let's say, an epic transformation with that. But with Iboga, because this plant medicine is so incredibly potent and powerful, I had no other choice but to be there, scrubbing my brain with my soul, cleaning all that up. And coming out of the medicine journey, like a couple days later, because you're in the medicine for a very long time, I was in the medicine for a very long time, a couple of days, and coming out of that, I felt like I had a completely new body. I remember I got out of bed after the medicine left my body, and I stood up and I was like, whoa. Like, my spine feels incredibly strong. I've never felt this way. And part of the journey of healing my own spine, those of you who might not be aware, I had scoliosis. And throughout my entire life, chiropractors and doctors all told me that I had like deformities in my bones, and like it just wouldn't be possible to heal, and XYZ. And I mean, you can imagine all of the thought patterns and core beliefs that in itself would create. But yeah, like stepping out of bed after Iboga, I was like, oh my goodness, I can walk differently. Because from working like on my back, especially the last year being in Bali, I've been working very closely with an osteopath. Part of the journey with healing my spine, I actually had to teach myself how to walk again properly, like how to start using and activating muscles that I never used before, because I just wasn't walking correctly, because my posture was off, because my spine was off. And so stepping out of bed after Iboga, I was like, whoa, this medicine was something else. And to this day, 2 weeks out, my spine is still in incredible shape. And I can tell you, there's been a couple examples, like for example, the 40-hour journey back to Bali, being on a plane for that long, trying to sleep and being crunched up like a pretzel, like that. Side note, I'm manifesting first class travel from now on. But like that in itself would have caused a lot of distress to my back, that would have created migraines, that would have like had me just feeling so down and icky and uncomfortable in my back. No issues, no issues. I also had to travel to Canggu in Bali from Ahmed, and that required me to be on my scooter for about 5 hours one day. And a journey like that on my scooter would normally cause a lot of discomfort in my back, but I noticed like the whole time I was driving on my scooter, and still driving on my scooter now, I have impeccable posture, which is something I've never been able to achieve. It was always something I had to be like super mindful of. I noticed, let's say I'm driving, and then like over time I start to get tired. I was just cruising like a boss the whole time with a very strong spine. I cannot describe to you guys the amount of gratitude that I have, because I've never felt this good in my body. I've never felt this good in my brain. And yeah, I'm still 2 weeks out. I still feel like I'm absolutely radiating and glowing, but like I know in my heart of hearts that this is the way that life gets to be now, that I get to have and maintain this incredible level of comfort and excitement and love in my body, and also in my mind, right? Like to have the gift of a new brain. Like, I experienced in my first 30 years of life a lot of different types of traumas, little t traumas, big T traumas, like kind of some crazy life events. And I feel like I've been given the gift of a new life. And I still feel this way 2 weeks after the medicine, and I'll be keeping you guys posted on how this journey continues. So yeah, I mean, God bless Iboga. God bless Iboga Wellness. If you guys are interested in learning more about this medicine, I'll be leaving my playlist down below, and I'll also be linking Iboga Wellness. If you feel called to this medicine, I highly, highly recommend Iboga Wellness. I felt incredibly taken care of. It just was literally heaven on earth. So yeah, I just can't say enough about this incredible experience, and I encourage you to check it out. Anyways, if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I'll be seeing you again very soon. Bye!